The CDC tonight says Europe is the new epicenter of the epidemic, with 70% of new cases originating here. And countries are falling like dominoes, one shutting down after another.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days.
In Italy, more than 1,200 people have died. 17,000 are infected with coronavirus, while the country remains on lockdown.
The second pandemic of the 21st century has led to the largest quarantine in human history. Bustling cities have turned into ghost towns. Millions are under lockdown in parts of Asia and Europe. Public squares, where communities have been converging for centuries, are almost empty.
Another. Ireland reporting its first coronavirus death, now closing schools. The Irish Prime Minister today with President Trump.
We need to do this for a couple of weeks to make sure the virus doesn't spread.
In Italy, the death toll rising over 1,000. Officials already banning most public gatherings and ordering a 3 feet separation in public.
Every shop and business in this country shut down, including iconic Italian brands like Gucci. Only grocery stores and pharmacies are allowed to stay open.
Shaking fewer hands.
Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announcing he will self-isolate after his wife got flu symptoms after a trip to the UK. And in Germany, Americans are struggling to get home.
I feel like there's a lot of panic and I don't really know.
Well, we are nervous that we're not going to be able to get back into the country.
They're closed indefinitely right now.
I got refunded immediately. They're very kind, very nice, and pretty sad themselves, I think.
Every day in Italy, it seems a new tragic record is broken. Today, the biggest single jump in fatalities. More than 1,200 are now lost to this relentless infection, and a fourth day of complete isolation for millions. Schools closed, restaurants shuttered. Images of China's deserted streets were the first to shock the world. Now, the people of Europe are retreating into their homes as the virus approaches. And while most people are heeding officials' calls to keep to themselves, some are naturally getting a bit bored and creative. This man in Rome wore a large cylindrical disc around his body to keep others away while he was at a market. In Naples, solidarity. Unable to meet in person, neighbours unite in song. And in Italy's northern city of Turin, locals enjoyed aperitivos from their balconies, while a disco ball shed some much-needed light.
Tutti insieme!
And who needs a vacation when you have each other? This Australian couple recreating their cancelled cruise from their living room. And this tender moment between a brother and sister in America. He's autistic and scared of the virus. She teaches him a Bible verse to calm him down.
But power, love, and the sound mind.
Amen.
While people around the world find joy where they can, the fight to stem the tide goes on. US and Korean armies banding together to disinfect an apartment complex in Daegu. For those under voluntary quarantine, a palpable sense of responsibility to keep others at bay. This woman in the UK showed us her daily amount of human interaction.
Who is it?
Hint, it's not much.
I'm under quarantine. Do you mind just leaving it at the door for me, please? Thank you. Oh, great, lovely. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
You too.
And she's not the only one. I too have to undergo quarantine after reporting from Italy earlier this week. Like millions of others, not fighting off a disease, but boredom.
So it's quite boring. Between lives, I have every intention of reading my books, but actually, in the end, I'm just watching a Mark Wahlberg movie because, you know, Mark Wahlberg.
Cut off from the nightmare, it's important to find lighter moments, but also remember those living it. Each night, people across the country set down a simple tribute to their heroes. This is Georgia in Milan.
We lit up candles every night here because we want to feel united, even if we cannot see each other, even if we cannot touch each other. We want to pay an invisible but strong homage to all the doctors and nurses that are constantly working to help us here.
One place that seems to have passed through the worst of the virus is China, where it first broke out in December. The last patients were discharged from hospitals China crash-built. China used the full force of its one-party state to contain this virus, including locking down Wuhan, a city of 11 million people.
It did work, but it was extremely draconian, and I just don't know that we need to be quite that aggressive.
Members of the coronavirus task force walk into the briefing room. In terms of a new protocol, all in the president's proximity must have their temperature taken, including the journalists present. Unexpectedly, President Trump walks in with his vice president, who had been scheduled to lead the briefing. And in another surprise, he confirmed he'd submitted to a test for the virus last night.
I also took the test last night, and I decided I should, based on the press conference yesterday. People were asking, did I take the test? I don't know, whatever it takes, a day or 2 days.
He also acknowledged that he'd made a mistake by shaking hands during Friday's briefing with corporate leaders and others in the Rose Garden.
Somebody comes up to you, they put their hand out, you probably tend to just shake it. And we're all getting out of that. Shaking hands is not a great thing to be doing right now, I agree. But people put their hand out. Sometimes I'll put the hand out, you don't think about it. People are thinking about it more and more. We have to think about it. It's important.
Was your temperature normal, Mr. President?
The president then left the briefing, leaving his vice president to officially confirm that the travel ban would be extended.
The president has made a decision to suspend all travel to the United Kingdom and Ireland, effective midnight, Monday night, Eastern Standard Time. Again, Americans in the UK or Ireland can come home. Legal residents can come home, but as the Secretary will detail, they will be funneled through specific airports and processed.
This morning, El Niño's fury caught on camera. Drone footage shows a chunk of this bluff in the city of Pacifica shearing off, leaving an apartment building dangling precariously. Residents told to leave immediately, their balconies right over the crumbling cliffs.
Take a look at this. You can see where it's cracking away right outside. I don't even feel comfortable standing here, to be honest.
The city in a state of emergency, up and down its coastline, pounding waves and powerful rains wreaking havoc, damaging a pier and opening this sinkhole. Engineers scrambling to fortify the sandstone bluffs with boulders, rods, and concrete from the beach below. Too late for this home, the ground under the patio crumbled away. Pictures from before this season's storms show just how much erosion there's been.
It's going really fast, really fast.
Even so, many of the people evacuating this apartment building this morning say they don't want to go.
Guys will have to physically drag me out. I'm not leaving, my neighbors aren't leaving either.
These scientists are studying the creatures that have learned to survive in this incredibly hostile environment.
It's the coldest place on Earth that marine animals live. It's actually very difficult to function at freezing temperature of seawater because everything goes so slowly. So they've optimized their metabolisms for that temperature, and they have never seen anything warmer than that in millions of years.
This isn't a blob of jelly, this is a snail. In some parts of Antarctica, the water is already getting warmer. So will these incredible animals be able to adapt?
Anne Todgham is a marine biologist. You've been studying these animals for years.
I'm actually pretty worried. I wish the data was wrong. I wish I didn't have to be worried. But, you know, there are lots of things that are going to change in the ocean, and these animals are being stressed to their max.
It takes loads of effort just to stay alive in such cold water.
So they have antifreeze proteins inside of them that keep them from freezing. They have different red blood cells. They're in fact not red. They have compensated for the cold so they can go about their daily lives and actually thrive in an environment that most animals would find very stressful.
These are weird and wonderful creatures, but this is the end of the world. If the sea here gets warmer, there really is nowhere they can go.
Since yesterday, definitely the situation started to feel a lot more tense, a lot more real. I think we felt, even though a lot of things were happening in Italy, we were a little bit removed from it, being so far south in Rome. But people have almost instantly started listening to the regulations. So people are definitely limiting their travel outside of their homes. We're staying home a lot more. One person is doing the shopping, and so the only thing you really see that's different is the number of people allowed into any public space is very limited. So even though the coffee bars are open, they have taped out meter apart spaces where you're allowed to stand. Or if you try to go to the supermarket, you do see lines, and it's not because people are making a run on the food, but it's because they're really limiting how many people are allowed to go into the supermarket at a time. So everyone is standing 1 meter apart, so more than 3 feet apart when they're inside the store, but also outside of the store, you'll see these lines starting. In Rome right now, honestly, the only thing that we're out of is masks and hand sanitizer. And even the hand sanitizer I've seen come back on the market in the last few days. And so the strange thing is that a lot of the businesses are closing very early. So if you're not an essential business, you have to close by 6 p.m. and this is really being enforced. So that means meeting your friends for an aperitivo, meeting your friends for a happy hour. That's not happening anymore. So